But I'm joined now by GBNews' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, what's going on in Italy? Many people think, well, this will come our way. It all ties in with Starmer's EU migrant deal, doesn't it?
Yeah, as far as Italy's concerned, we are seeing record numbers of illegal immigrants who are coming across and into Europe's southern borders. So, of course, Italy, but also in Greece and also in Spain, a lot of the Spanish islands around the Canaries, seeing tens of thousands arriving in recent months. If we look at Lampedusa, for instance, 8,000 that have arrived on the island of Lampedusa just in the past 48 hours. Now, this is the entrance to the main harbour there, and dozens of boats there coming in. 160 boats, Patrick, have come in the past 48 hours, and still they're coming. And of course, what they're doing is trying to deal with them in the kind of the main holding areas, but there are thousands of them in that area in boiling heat. So tempers have been running high, and people have been trying to get out of these areas. And of course, the island authorities are calling for help from the mainland as well. Within time, of course, these people will be moved to greater centres of population in Italy. But there's also another issue. In an internal row that's broken out among some of the countries in the European Union, Germany and France are refusing to take additional migrants from Italy, claiming that Italy, now of course with a right-wing government, is not playing its part in the sort of internal processes and to accept the migrants that come into the southern borders. They're supposed to be distributed out fairly. The claim is that Italy aren't taking them back.
Despite the fact that they've just had 8,000 arrivals in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, well, what Germany claims is that they're then being funneled north and that that Italy doesn't want to take them back. So Germany is saying it's not going to take any more migrants from Italy at the moment. France is also sending hundreds of additional police and troops to guard its borders with Italy around the Alpine regions there. So some real tensions within the European Union as well. And if Keir Starmer's plans come to fruition, then we could be signing up to an agreement which will mean that we will have to take a quota of the total number of migrants coming to the European Union.
This is what's fascinating, right? This is what's really interesting, because it's done about percentage population of Europe as a continent, isn't it? And we, despite being geographically small, have a high population, ironically fuelled by mass migration of the legal variety, not just the illegal kind. And so that would mean what?
Well, it would mean that we would have to take a proportion of those arriving in the European Union. And the problem with that, Patrick, is we have no way of knowing just how many people from one year to the next will actually end up in the European Union. Take Italy. They have had, so far this year, at the end of the year, 124,000 migrants that have crossed into Italy. That compares to 65,000 at this period last year. So a doubling of the number of migrants going into Europe. And they're also seeing very significant numbers, as I say, leaving, coming across the Med, going to some of the Spanish islands and the Greek islands as well. Not to mention those who come through the land borders into Europe. So some real concern at the record levels of migration coming into the European Union, which will mean that all of the European Union countries then have to take a proportion, a share of those numbers under the way in which the European Union
Do we then have
operates.
to process them here? I mean, this is the other thing I don't quite understand. So those people who've just arrived in Italy there, right? Do we then just basically conceivably pick up a chunk of those people, bring them here, and then decide whether or not they're asylum seekers and refugees?
I'm not sure whether it would be a system in which we would actually have to do the processing, whether they would already be processed. I would imagine we would probably do the processing.
Right.
We just take a quota like we did in the past, and we'd have to then assess those asylum claims.
Yeah.
But then we'd be up against the age-old issue anyway.
Well,
even if we denied them asylum, depending on the countries they've come from, there's no returns agreement.
No.
You can't return them.
And look, Mark, just before I let you get going, I'm going to get some political reaction to this in a second, by the way, and also I want to tease ahead. This ties in perfectly with an exclusive that I've got coming your way just after the half-hour mark, which is on Brits and legal migrants being forced to live in inhumane conditions. Right, inhumane conditions, being told that there's no housing for them, and you can imagine, can't you? I think some of the people that we've just seen arrive in Italy there will not struggle to find housing in this country, miraculously. But you're away tonight, aren't you? You're on Farage, but you're out in the wild.
Yes, Witham, which is
Wild Witham,
which is the constituency home of the former Home Secretary, Priti Patel, who will be a guest of Nigel Farage at large this evening, and we will be talking. It will be dominated by the issue of immigration and what that means in terms of communities in Essex.
Absolutely.
Because remember, of course, that the Wethersfield base is in Essex as well, so they know full well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be 7 p.m. tonight, isn't it? Make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. It will be box office. Mark, thank you very much. Mark White there.